let's do the roll call. Patty, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Miss Barry?
Here.
Mr. Boncory? Mr. Capabianco?
Yeah.
Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Miss Swope? Miss Powell?
Oh, Miss Swope is not here. I'm present.
Mr. Perrin?
Present. We can wait a couple of seconds to see if someone could maybe text her, let her know.
I'll shoot her a text.
President Bunker is here. I didn't.
Yeah. Patty Phil is here. I had him on mute because he's got another meeting at the same time.
Okay, and I see Mr. Hodnett's there as well.
Yes.
Okay.
The same as Paul Honda. Just before we start, the background noise the last couple of meetings has been a little distracting. If we could just mute your microphone and try to keep it down with dull roar.
Yes, and can you just tell me who made the motion and who seconded?
Well, we're starting with roll call. Now we're asking for,
Okay.
actually, why don't we do the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. Barrett, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance
To the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the chairman anticipates going into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to the collective bargaining or litigation. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
Motion.
Second. Motion by Mr. Matucci. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Boncory. Any discussion? Patty, can I get a roll call vote, please, in the executive session?
Miss Barry?
yes.
Mr. Boncory?
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Miss Swope? Miss Powell?
Yes.
Mr. Perrin?
Yes. Okay, we're into executive session. We're in a separate room now to make sure that this isn't going to be put out live.
I'm not doing that right now. Said that she can't get in. She's trying to.
Okay, we've just finished an executive session, and now we're coming into the public hearing portion of our meeting for the 2020-2021 budget. Ms. Hames, could you please call the roll for the hearing?
Miss Barry?
Here?
Mr. Boncory?
Here.
Mr. Capabianco?
Here.
Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Miss Swope?
Yes.
Miss Powell?
Present.
Mr. Perrin?
Here. I want to remind everyone that the public comment may be submitted prior to the meeting and throughout this meeting by emailing Lisa Howard at Winthrop.k12.ma.us. Public comment received during the meeting will be read. If you send something after this meeting, we'll also distribute it to the other members of the committee so they can review it as well. With that, Howard, can you bring us through the budget very quickly?
Yes. Would you like me to start with the initial public comment, or do you want to go through the budget first?
You can start with the initial public comment if you'd like.
Okay. So I've received 3 emails for public comment, and again, we'll open it up at the end of the meeting as well. And the first one is from Christine Van Wart, and she would appreciate it if I would read this, which I will. Thank you for considering my pre-K refund. She has asked for a refund, which will be later in the meeting, but it's part of public comment. Well, I really loved sending my son to the 3-day pre-K program. It was a tough financial decision to make. I decided to send him and work hard to make the payments necessary. He missed the kindergarten cutoff, so it was best to send him to your pre-K program, even though it was hard on our budget. With that being said, we fell into the situation towards January and February that we're in, once the holidays hit, that we owed the program over $1,000. End of February 2019, we received a letter indicating my son would be removed from the program on March 5th if we didn't pay the amount due. We thought this would be extreme, where our 5-year-old would have been removed if we couldn't pay and he would have been devastated. So we immediately gathered the money, paid 100%. Now we are in a tough situation with the current pandemic and needing this money returned, as our son is home as well as my daughter, and we're spending hundreds more a month on food and bills. Thank you very much for reviewing my request. So that's a public comment about an agenda item later on in the meeting. So it was appropriate to read. The second public comment is from Kristen Reynolds, the president of the Winthrop Teachers Association and a third grade teacher, 104 Johnson Ave, Precinct 5. I want to take a minute to publicly thank all the staff of the Winthrop Public Schools for their continued hard work and dedication to the students and families of Winthrop during this difficult time, while also dealing with the effects of COVID-19 and that they are having on our families. The members of the Winthrop Teachers Association have been working closely with the superintendent and other administrators to put together a plan for remote learning that follows the guidelines that the Commissioner of Education has set out and released. Over the next few days, we will continue to adapt our remote learning plans to account for the updated guidelines that were released by the Department of Education on Friday. We'd like to thank the school committee and families of Winthrop for their patience as we learn how to teach in a whole new way and adapt to these new ways of connecting and engaging with our students. As educators in Winthrop, we miss our school children tremendously. Although we are expected and understood the need for the schools to shut down, for the shutdown to continue through the end of the school year, we are heartbroken that we will not be able to welcome our students back to their classrooms and enjoy the rites of spring that end the school year, that the end of the school year usually brings to our students at various grade levels. Respectfully submitted, Kristen Reynolds, grade 3 teacher. I have a third public comment. Dear Mrs. Howard, I would like to submit a question for tonight's budget hearing. So I will reread this at the end, but how will the new budget as proposed impact class size and teacher ratios? Should we expect to see cuts to specials like art, music, and science? And great news about the Chromebooks being given to students who need computer access. And thank you for all you are doing to adapt and keep the wheels churning during these previously unimaginable times. Thank you, Julia Wallace. Julia is a parent of one of our students. And that is all I see to this point in my email. Now, if I can get back to the Zoom page, and you would like me, Brian, to start to just review some slides for the budget, is that correct?
Just the overview of the slides that you have, absolutely.
Okay, so Jen, if you can put those slides up. So I'm not going to go through every single slide, but we will just start with the fact that each year we do a budget presentation for the town council and for the FinCom and for our parents. We had 3 budget meetings this year with parents, and back probably about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. Not a ton of attendance, but I think once parents get used to the fact that we'll be having those moving forward, there'll be better attendance. So we're sticking to our same plan of last year. Next slide, Jen, where we're using our district strategy, the goals of myself and the administrators, as well as our school improvement plan to develop our budget. Our system-wide goals, next slide, Jen, remain the strategic plan goals, which are high quality, rigorous instruction and curriculum alignment, teaching all students in a safe and welcoming environment, and the professional culture and community engagement as our top 3 priorities. Our budget approach is the same as it was last year, a full review of everything we have and the things that we need based on the students that we have before us. I won't bore you with reading that. I just like to let folks know too, this has been up on the website for the week. So if any of you want to read it in more detail, It is on the front page of our website. The next slide speaks to our challenge, which is for us as a school district to work with our students for them to continue to make effective progress towards achieving our system's goals, given the history of budget appropriations that we have had some struggle with. Folks on the school committee has approved our putting forth the recommended needs-based budget so that we can be clear with the community as well as our parents and students in advocating for what we believe is needed for an education that is equitable and commensurate with the school districts around us. So the budget that we have asked for is $23,989,083. I give you a little bit of a breakdown so that you can see that 19 million and change of that is salary, and $4,723,720 are for expenses, which is anything that is not salary, such as contracts for services, materials and supplies, et cetera. I broke it down, and again, you can see this on the website. I broke the salaries down by school so that you could see Gorman, Fort Banks, Arthur T. Cummings, middle school, high school, system-wide employees, which include things like custodial staff, et cetera, and central office staff. I also did the expenses in the same way, broke them out for you so that you can see where $4,723,720 worth of expenses are appropriated to. In terms of what is needed for next school year and why the salary lines are higher next year than they were this year, in the needs-based budget, we have asked for a library media specialist. We have asked for additional technology, as we do often, and the other monies for the high schools we designed designated for professional development, curriculum improvements, and then just general expenses for contracts that we have outside of salaries. The library media specialist for folks who know is part of the NEASNC recommendation for the high school to receive its accreditation. They believe that a library media specialist needs to be a teaching body within the high school itself. The middle school needs, and if these look familiar to people, I understand that because these are the same needs that many of the same needs that we requested last year that we were unable to fund. And so the need doesn't necessarily go away. It gets a little bit bigger. And you can see that if you compare this to last year's needs at our school level. So we're back at the social studies teachers. We still need a 7th and 8th grade social studies teacher, special education to continue our co-teaching in support of our students in ELA and math at the high school level, 10th grade co-teacher, a world language teacher, 3 ESPs, 0.5, meaning a half-time math and ELA coach. Those may in fact be 2 separate bodies, or 0.25 math coach and a 0.25 ELA individual to support the curriculum development within the middle school itself. Additional stipends to run things like SST, which is support teams, PBIS, which is our behavioral program, and a drama club stipend, additional live TV, sorry, I have to let the puppy out. Additional stipends for a drama club, additional maintenance items that we would like to have, and again, professional development, curriculum, expenses, and contracts. At the Cummings School, flip to the next slide, thank you. Very similar to last year, special education teacher, ASD teacher, that is a teacher of students with autism spectrum disorder, a junior custodian, which is a restoration of cuts from 3 years ago, a 0.5 adjustment counselor. I don't know that I really need an explanation for that one, given what we're going through right now. We probably need 10 adjustment counselors when we return. 3 RTI staff, and RTI is response to intervention. That's support staff to support students who are not necessarily students with IEPs or 504 plans, but those students that are struggling and need additional support beyond the 1 to 25 teacher ratio. The elementary teacher, and that's restoring a grade 3 position that was cut 2 years ago. And again, the professional development curriculum expense and additional maintenance items. At the Gorman Fort Banks, similar list to last year, reading teacher who can help coordinate some of our reading programs that are growing in need, an ELL teacher for our ever-rising ELL programs and students where English is a second language, a math coordinator to help with organizing and supporting our staff on new math curriculum, 3 RTI staff, again, to help students that are struggling, not necessarily special ed students or students on 504s, a junior custodian from a cut, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, where that position was reduced and never filled again, and same professional development curriculum expense increases, additional maintenance items, and additional professional development for a new reading curriculum that we will be purchasing, because the current reading curriculum that we're using program is no longer being used in the state after this year. I just put in a few of the buildings and grounds, additional supplies and durable materials. I believe coming back to school, those additional supplies will include things such as masks and gloves that are not currently in our budget. And we did a full capital improvement plan, and that contains many requests, and that's outlined in the budget as well. District-wide, the certified school business manager, and that will be replacing Susan Eccles when she leaves. There's an additional cost associated with that because it is a certified school business manager. A technology specialist, forever looking at technology in general. And I added in this the projected special education tuition increases based on known or pending cases that we have in the district. Athletics, we want to right-size the transportation line to reflect actual costs of this year, and a change in our league that we're in next year, which will be bringing us in a different route to some communities that are a little bit further away. Capital requests, I gave you a snapshot of the capital requests that we would be looking for. Of course, when you're looking for transportation efficiencies, we believe we can cover that with some vans as opposed to renting large buses. Our elementary school teachers, Gorman Fort Banks needs a water heater, and at the Cummings school, some tread replacement on the stairs, elevator repair, gym floor, and the roof leaking. Desktops and Chromebooks district-wide are forever on the budget. Gorman Fort Banks is looking for a snow blower, and as you can see, the list goes on. We have a full capital plan that we've shared with the town, and it's much more detailed, and I'm happy to provide that to anybody who is interested in that. Noted efficiencies, we continue to work on multiple levels of residency. We're improving class size by making sure we're educating our own students. We've done a lot of work with charter schools and vocational schools, reviewing the enrollment and making sure those people are still living in this community. They don't go to our schools. It's hard to figure out if they're still in Winthrop. We do a lot of mailings to invite them back to the public school and oftentimes find out students have since moved, and we want to make sure we're step in toe with those charges that come to our district. E-rate submission, we've done a lot of work with E-rate in claiming more things than we knew we could claim before. I think having a school business manager will then take that off my plate and have somebody much more skilled with E-rate get us more reimbursements that we're entitled to that we just don't know about. The solar panel installation at the high school, they are turned on. We will not know the value of that for at least 6 to 8 months, is from what I'm being told. And in the near future, we'll be having them present again to the school committee. We've refocused our grants and have done a tremendous amount of creative planning with substitutes to try to save money. So the Winthrop Public Schools budget reflection, our needs-based budget of $23,989,083 is an increase of $1.65 million from the FY20 school budget. A level service, I'm sorry, I believe that should be 2.65. That's a typo. And the level service budget is, should we not be able to maximize our needs and get a level service needs-based budget in order to open the doors with the same people that we have this year and the increases that are traditional in 3-year contracts of goods and services, we would need 1.5 million to open the door of next year. So that is sort of a rundown. If you can go to the last slide, Jen, there, of course, are going to be impacts of next school year based on this close. And I just outlined some of those. This is not an exhaustive list. This is a list that I am learning about, that's growing every day with conversations as we're all experiencing something that we've never experienced before. I am assuming that state funding reductions and shortfalls are headed our way. I can imagine the local revenue receipts and impact is going to impact our overall school budget. Stores are not open, restaurants are not running, so our local receipts will be lower.
I can see them, I'm in.
An increased need to meet the students' social emotional needs when they return.
See
I can
people.
pretty much guarantee you that we will not be getting back the same child who left us. There'll be some trauma there. There will definitely be a loss of learning because students are not in a traditional school day. So there'll be an increase in our needs to meet those student concerns when they come back. I think there's going to be some impact on state mandated policies regarding the return. We don't know what those are going to be yet, but what we're hearing from the state level is we may need to be taking temperatures of kids before they come into the building next year. Maybe staggering school starts. I don't know how we're going to do that. That's going to be something, hopefully we don't have to, but if we have to have kids sitting 6 feet or 10 feet away from each other, there's going to be some concerns about how we're going to do that and what's the impact of that going to be. School building protocols, if there's changes in that, that's certainly a cost impact. Impact of family resources. People have been out of work for a while. Are they going to be able to pay the typical fees? And the cost of professional development that we will have to adjust. We're going to have to adjust our learning standards, I'm assuming, because our kids are going to come back and need to visit standards that in a deeper way that we were unable to fully have students fully engage in. And there'll be more to be determined as time goes on and the longer that we're closed. So that is a review of the budget. I know it's quick. It is on the school website. Many questions about the school budget were answered in the 3 sessions with a short amount of people that came into those meetings. And certainly I'll be open to answering many more questions as we go forward with our presentations to the town.
Do any of these school committee members have a question for the superintendent on the budget as presented? Hearing none.
Nope.
Lisa, do we have any comments?
Yeah, no question, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment saying it's a great job as usual. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matucci. Do we have any additional comments from the public?
So there were questions in the public comment. One of the public comment participants did send some questions. I can answer those now. I read her comment already, but I certainly can answer them. It says, how will the new budget as proposed impact class size and teacher ratio? The needs-based budget as proposed will not impact. It may make it a little bit better and reduce size. If we were to return the 3rd grade teacher, there would be a class size reduction. Right now, all the grade levels K through 5 have 7 grade level teachers, but grade 3 has only 6. That was a cut made a few years ago. So that would reduce the class size a bit in grade 3. And if the teachers were added at the middle school, the teams would level off with grade levels, I believe, of seventh grade would add one more teacher, so they would have a team of 4. Right now, the only team of 4 is grade 8. So, I'm sorry, grade 6. So that would add, that would definitely reduce some class size in grades 7 and 8 if a social studies teacher were assigned to each grade. And next question, should we expect to see cuts to specialists like art, music, and science if we receive a needs-based budget? No. If we receive a level service budget, potentially, and if we receive a beneath level service budget, there will be reductions potentially. And what those reductions will be, I can't answer that question right now, but they could be in the specials, but they could also be grade level. That will be a determination made by the school committee once we fill them with information, regarding class size and the recommendations of the principals. And those are the only comments that I see in my email up to this point.
I have a question.
Sure. Ms. Swope?
Yeah, I just have a question. Lisa, I know that I'm sure that kids have been differently taught during this time, either by parents or by others. And how are we going to test those kids so that we know where they stand as they come back to school? Because some of them may be where they were in March, but some of them may be more advanced. And so I'm wondering how we can organize this.
So we have a tremendous amount of benchmark testing that we do with students, even when there is not an issue. And we are in the early stages now of determining what, if and when we go back, what's going to be the look of benchmark testing, because we really can't move forward in the next grade level until we know where our students are. It's nothing that particular exercise for our teachers and for our administration is one that is not a difficult one of all the difficulties we've been going through, because we do benchmark testing multiple times a year. Many of our programs, Renaissance, a number of our programs have the ability to evaluate large groups of students. It's how we meet their needs when we figure out where they are when they do return to us. And I think the requested addition of RTI staff, or which are folks that can come in and put students in smaller subgroups within the classroom setting when learning new material or catching up on something that they may not have mastered as of yet, that will be helpful.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that this will, as we go forward between now and the end of the school year, this also might be helpful because we can test and we can put kids in small groups, and the teachers can find ways to do stuff online that might be helpful to them.
It's very difficult to do benchmark testing of students at this point in time, in where they're at remotely, based on how kids are interacting with us right now. It's a very varied scale, because we have students that are able to interact fully. We have students that are not able to interact at all. We have students that are interacting a little bit, but it's sort of all over the map right now. The good thing is we have control over that, and we're able to monitor that and reach out to our families quite often to determine why it is that students aren't involved or interacting on a daily basis, and that's important information for us.
Can I ask that we make that part of our regular session? I just want to stick to the budget section right now, the hearing, and we can bring that up anywhere else in the regular meeting if that's possible. So I'm going to ask, is there any further comment on the budget? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to close the hearing for the budget for 2020 to 2021.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Matucci. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Powell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. The hearing is closed out. Okay, we'll be moving on to the regular school committee session. As you know, this meeting will be recorded and maybe televised live. Patty, can you please read the roll call for the regular school committee meeting?
Yes. Miss Barry?
Here?
Mr. Boncory,
Here.
Mr. Capabianco,
Here.
Matucci,
Here.
Ms. Swope, Ms. Powell,
Present.
Mr. Perrin.
Here. Okay, moving on to general information recommendations. There are no delegates or visitors. For the minutes, can I get a motion to accept the minutes of April 6th, 2020 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Capabianco makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Boncory. Any discussion on the minutes? Patty, can we get a roll call vote to accept the minutes of April 6, 2020?
Ms. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Boncory,
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco,
Yes.
Mr. Matucci,
Yes.
Ms. Swope, Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Perrin.
Yes.
Can someone unmute Ms. Swope?
Okay, moving on to financial and business procedures. Can I get a motion on warrant SVW 20-17 in the amount of $224,453.41?
Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Boncory, seconded by Mr. Matucci. Can I get any discussion on that? No discussion being heard. Patty, can I get a roll call vote on accepting that warrant?
Ms. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Boncory,
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco,
Yes.
Mr. Matucci,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Perrin.
Yes. Okay, moving on, we have a payroll warrant. We actually have two, and I'd like to take them together. Two payroll warrants, SPW 20-18 in the amount of $697,492.22. And then SPW 20-19 warrant in the amount of $779,096.28. Can I get a motion on both payroll warrants?
Motion on both payroll warrant.
Ms. Powell makes the motion. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Swope. Any discussion? Not hearing any discussion. Patty, can I get a roll call vote on the warrants?
Ms. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Boncory,
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco,
Yes.
Mr. Matucci,
Dane.
Ms. Swope,
Yes.
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Perrin.
Abstention. Okay, moving on. There are no building and grounds requests that have come in our packet. Reports, I don't see any subcommittee reports. I'm gonna go to Ms. Howard for the superintendent's report.
Thank you very much. As all folks know, on April 24th, the governor extended the school's closure through the end of the school year. The Department of Education has most recently, actually on the 24th, the Department of Education has provided us with updated guidelines. This is their second round of remote learning recommendations to help school districts enter phase 3. We're currently in phase 2, and now the commissioner and the department have provided us with additional guidance. In phase 3, school districts are now going to continue to enhance and refine remote learning plans and expand the K-8 remote learning a little bit deeper by moving from just deepening the standards into incorporating specific power standards that'll be necessary for students to successfully transition into the next grade in the fall. The document that's been provided to us, I will forward copies to the committee. It is building on the initial guidance that he provided us with on March 26th, where there was a focus on deepening the standards that were already taught in K-8 and allowing for some movement in the high school level based on the independence of the students and their familiarity with remote learning and platforms that we currently have. So the document is building on those initial guidelines, but adding a few things to them with a deeper focus on two, what I would consider specific areas. And those two areas are further defining the recommended elements of quality remote learning program, including a focus on teaching the content standards that are most critical. So for those of you who aren't familiar with that, there are standards that we will not be able to teach between now and the end of the school year, given the closure, given the need to develop plans and revise plans and get people up to speed on what remote learning is, including our teachers. It's a dramatic shift from sitting in front of a classroom filled with 25 students where you can interact with them continuously while you're teaching and help redirect and focus them, to remote learning in which we have not been able to have our students directly in front of us. Not every child has a computer, not every child has access to technology, and not every child has access to spending the amount of time necessary with parental support. Given the crisis that we're in, every family situation is different, and we're finding more about that every day from our families. And then the second piece of it is encouraging students to encourage our school district to move all students to more engagement, ramping it up somewhat, and having more face time with students, more remote time with students at each grade level. So the collaboration that we have going on right now those recommendations came out Friday night. Today, principals, administrators, as well as our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, Laurie Gallivan, met for approximately 4 hours to review what we're currently doing and how the new guidelines fit into what we're doing, and then what we need to do in each school building to meet the recommendations and guidelines of the new remote plan. We believe we can, within a week's time frame, be able to have some adjustments made to those plans, to be able to inform our parents what those adjustments may look like, to make sure that our teachers are prepared and have the tools that they need, whether it's additional professional development on how to use a certain platform. We're rolling out Google Classroom at the elementary level, which we hadn't had up and running prior to this. We were not using Google Classroom at that level. We're using it now. And training staff on that, as well as the capabilities of other forms of videoing with their students, whether it's Class Dojo. People are very in tune to Zoom now. We're Zooming all over the place. Some folks had never used Zoom before, and now we are. So lots of work to be done. We will consider this phase 3 of the project, the remote learning project, which, if you think about it, in a 6-week period of time, we've gone from traditional classroom teaching up to 3, now the 3rd revision of remote learning for people who hadn't remotely learned before. And we're teaching kids to learn remotely. And if you can think about that, we're remotely teaching them how to remotely learn. And some of them are 5 and 6 and 7. And it has not been easy, but I can tell you the staff has been fully committed to doing what they need to do. They miss their students deeply. They do want more engagement with their students. We have been committed to listening to the Commissioner of Education and following his guidelines, and we will remain committed to doing that. This new version sort of lets the leash off us a little bit and allows us to do a little bit more than we have been guided to do prior to this. And it will be very interesting to see how our staff is responding. They had ILT meetings today after their administration meeting, in which they are sharing this information with the teachers as well, so that we can all come to an agreement as to how this is going to look. It's going to look different at every grade level, and I can assure you that we will be tweaking it right up till the last day of school, in hopes that we don't ever have to use it again. But if we do, we will have something in place that I would say we would continue to work on moving forward, even if we don't need to use it. So that is for the remote learning plan. And I just have a few other items that I'd like to just bring you up to speed on quickly. Kindergarten and preschool registration is around the corner. We are working with IPASS to get that done remotely for parents. So parents would be an online system of registering students. We were working on that before COVID-19 showed up. So I'm just happy that we'll be able to get it done for kindergarten registration, and we will make sure parents are well aware of how that will be rolled out, because it will be different for them. Working on graduation, the seniors are our priority, definitely right now, in terms of getting them what they're entitled to, which is the next step in life, and entitled to celebrate the 12 years of education that they have had prior to our current crisis. And Mr. Crombie and I are working closely with the senior class, developing thoughts with them, letting them guide this ship, because this is about them, and working closely with them to figure out how we can make sure that we can give them every opportunity that they're entitled to without breaking the law. And we've spoken to them about what the law means and why we can't break the law. So our hands are tied right now in a number of ways until the governor releases gathering and our ability to get together. That ties our hands a little bit, but being a small class and having a great relationship with police and fire and DPW and the town council, we think we have a little bit of better wiggle room than some schools may have. And being such a small class of in the 120s, I believe that we may have some additional ways to be creative. Scholarships and everything that will be happening for them is still moving on. Facella Scholarship is being, the essay is being done on the 29th. Students are doing that remotely. The other scholarships are continuing to be identified to make sure our students will be no delay in receiving those. How they're going to receive them is still a work in progress. Solar panels, I think I updated you on already. They have been turned on. It's going to take some time for us to figure out what the payback on those are going to be, and we will certainly provide that update as soon as possible. The Cummings school playground, we still are holding strong to the start date of construction as of May 5th. We have a meeting with them on Friday with to find out whether or not the company is going to be able to continue. They believe they will be, but they were waiting for some more approval. If not, if they're delayed a week, they don't think that that will be a problem. I can't wait till that playground is done so I can check it off the list and see the kids play on it. They've been waiting for a long time. Summer planning is going on. We're still planning for the extended school year program for our students with special needs. We're discussing thoughts about how we may be able to run a fee-based summer program for students and families who wish to take advantage of that. We're doing all that work, knowing that we may still not be able to use buildings if the restrictions are not lifted. And so some remote possibilities are also in the work with the staff. And just let me check one more thing. And that is it for me, I think. Yes.
Okay, any questions of the superintendent on her report?
Yeah, Brian, I just wanted to ask Lisa, did you say that there are some things in the curriculum that we won't be able to cover because of what we're going through? And if that's true, did I misunderstand you about that? I wasn't clear about that.
So the Commissioner of Education and his team of people at the Department of Education have identified, given the amount of time we've been out of school and the amount of time we have from now till the end of the school year, they have identified for the public school what power standards K-8 they believe, actually K-12, but specifically when looking at power standards that haven't been covered yet and remote learning that has been deepening the standards and not moving forward up to this point, they've identified those power standards for us and have asked us to focus in this new round, this round 3 of remote learning, to now not just deepen the standards at the elementary level, but to focus on these power standards moving forward. They identified them for the entire public school system in the state of Massachusetts,
Okay.
to make sure that we're able to cover those.
And so will parents know those? You probably will let them know.
Yeah, we're going to put out the entire learning plan, and I think the commissioner this time around is going to do the same. It's 70. The learning plan that we've received is 72 pages long,
Oh,
And so it's 72
okay.
pages of
That'll keep us busy.
However, I think it's good for the committee to know, as well as anyone who's watching, the Winthrop Public Schools, and I want to speak to the elementary level just for a minute. Our standards that we have covered since the opening of school until this point, our teachers know what those standards are. They know how far they've come, what they've covered. Individually in their classrooms, they know the mastery level of their students up until the day we left school, and what standards they had intended to cover between now and the end of the school year. I believe the intent of the commissioner is to identify the power standards so that at the end of the school year, there is equity in terms of what students were taught across the state. And so that we don't leave off, 15 standards at the end of the school year that some schools have covered and some schools have not. So we're appreciative of his identifying those, and now it's up to us to present that. We know that not every student is going to have the opportunity or the ability to engage and master those standards that we're teaching, the new learning that's going on. And that's where the evaluation of students in the fall to see where they are, the baseline assessments that we'll be doing in the fall will be focused on identifying those students who now need more support at the beginning of the school year to fully master those standards.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Howard, can you tell us if we have any personnel matters, appointments, resignations, retirements, postings, or any leaves of absence?
I can do that if I can find my agenda. Hold on, here it is. Okay, so appointments. At this point, we have no appointments. In terms of resignations, we have a few, and these resignations will not take place until the end of the school year. So we have 8th grade teacher, math teacher at Winthrop Middle School, Vasily Malios, is leaving us to take a position in the city of Boston. And his resignation is in your packet. Vasily's a great teacher, and we will miss him and hopefully see him back here. Miss Christy Piker is a special education teacher at the Cummings School. She is moving on as well. Excellent teacher and will be sorely missed by her students. And Megan Noster, an adjustment counselor at the middle school. I don't even want to talk about her leaving, but I can tell you she is headed off to do something that she really wants to do in another state. So the commute, I tried to get her to commute back and forth. I couldn't get her a plane, but if I could have, I would have. She's done some great work and has been a key for me in terms of someone to lean on to do extra projects like our threat assessment program planning. And she was a key person in the Sandy Hook Promise Act that we received the funding for. And she's got that up and running. And all I had to say was, would you want to look at this? And off she ran. So I can't clone her, but I might be able to convince her before she actually goes to stay. So one of the postings, we've already posted the math and the special ed position. We'd like to post the adjustment counselor. Clearly I waited on that hoping she'd change her mind, but she didn't. And so we have to post that. Leaves of absence, we have none.
Okay, moving on to new business. Before the start of this meeting, we had an executive session to review negotiations between the Winthrop Administrators Association and the Winthrop School Committee, as well as the agreement between the local 888 SEIU custodians with the Winthrop School Committee. I'd ask Vice Chairman Powell to bring us through those agreements. You're on mute.
Okay, I'm off mute. We have memorandums of understandings ready to go with both the custodian unions and our administrative unions. These will have no language changes other than budget changes. And they will have the salary increases. Lisa, do you have the salary increases?
In front of me? Nope, but I can get them. I want
Okay.
to see. Hold on one sec.
And this will be effective for this school year. The raises will be retroactive. And this brings them in line with the salary increases that we approved for the teachers.
I actually have it here.
1.25.
Yes,
The next one is 2 point, I'm going off the top of my head, 2.25,
2.5.
and the third one is 2.5.
So,
Right.
so effective July 1st of this past year, it's 1.25. Effective July 1st, 2020 is 2.25. And effective July 1st, 2021 is 2.5.
Correct. So this will be a 3-year agreement. That's a 6% total over those 3 years.
Okay, any motion to accept? Would you like to take them together? Can I get a motion for both to be taken together to be approved?
I'll make a motion to approve both of the custodian and the administrative contract extensions.
Powell makes the motion to accept both contracts. Do I get a second on that?
Second.
Mr. Capabianco has seconded the motion. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, may I request a roll call?
Every vote we have is a roll call on this. So, is there any further discussion? Does anyone have any comment? Hearing none, I'll ask for a roll call vote. Patty, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Boncory,
Yes.
Mr. Capabianco,
Yes.
Mr. Matucci,
Yes.
Ms. Swope,
Abstain?
Ms. Powell,
Yes.
Mr. Perrin.
Yes. Okay, moving on. An additional new business. There was we had a public comment on refund requests. I'd like to see if we can move that to the budget committee and have them report back to see if we can come up with a plan as far as refund requests are, what the budget impact will be. So I'm gonna see if we can send that. We'll send that to the budget committee. We'll bring that back if that's okay with everyone.
Got it.
Next up on the new business.
May I ask a question on that, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Any idea when we would know the budget committee's recommendation? Because I know that that's pressing to some parents, especially those that, are on employment now.
I would expect that we're going to have a budget committee meeting in the next couple of weeks. So I would assume by the next meeting, we should have some information on that.
We'll have something for the next meeting.
Okay.
We also have school choice as new business. It's not to be voted tonight. It's just a placeholder, but it does have to be placed, according to our superintendent, on our agenda at some point in the near future.
I'd be happy, through the chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions between now and the next school committee meeting regarding school choice, the history of school choice for those who aren't aware of it, the history of school choice here in Winthrop, the impacts, and the pluses and the minuses of school choice. So feel free to do your own research around school choice. We have a policy for it that we can get to you. We also, there's lots of information on the department's website, but I'm happy to have that conversation with anyone just based on my background with school choice.
Okay, the spring athletic fee refunds, I would ask that go to the budget committee as well, so they can be taken up together, and we'll have more information at the next meeting.
No problem.
Unfinished business, textbook material discard request, is that still unresolved?
It's still unresolved. I'd like to discard it right off the agenda. It's been there for a few months, but we had minimal materials. It's just not worth doing at the moment.
Okay.
I do have another public comment.
I was just going to ask, I was going to public comment. Do we have any more public comment?
Yes. I just have to pull it up. Sorry, I'm switching screens. So public comment from Julia Walrus. She doesn't give her a precinct. She asked, will you consider starting the new school year, whenever that is, in the same class and classrooms that students left in the spring, just to provide a 1 to 2 week transition? This would be particularly helpful for young children. The end was so abrupt. I believe New Hampshire is pursuing this strategy. Thank you, Julia Wallace, parent of a kindergartner. So we haven't, no, the answer to that question is we have not considered that. I certainly will bring that forward, as a thought to Principal Pearson and the rest of the administrative team as we begin to plan for the return to school, which is actually another advisory that's going to be coming out from the Commissioner of Education in terms of going back to school, that he's going to consider that phase 4 of our planning. I think he's going to give us a little bit of time to get phase 3 up and running and then allow us to plan for that. So I will be I'll bring that information back to my team for further conversation. And that's the only other public comment I see in my email.
Okay, just to remind the people at home, if you do have any further public comment, you can still email Lisa Howard, and that will be distributed to the other school committee members for consideration. Moving on to public comment. Mr. Capabianco, do you have any public comment? Excuse me, public relations?
Nope.
Jen Powell, do you have any further?
I just want to say that I know the senior class officials are meeting with the principal, and I am, as a parent of a senior, looking forward to that. I know there are a lot of parents of seniors out there who are also eager to get involved. So looking forward to those announcements soon.
Excellent. Mr. Boncory, do you have any public relations?
Nope, fine.
Ms. Barry, do you have any further public relations?
Yes, I just wanted to comment that, I appreciate all the hard work that's going into planning for, the next phase in remote learning. And I'm excited for my children to have even more engagement. I think that's so important and critical in these kids connecting with their teachers and staying engaged, especially where everything is done on the computer with no communication. The FaceTime, I think, is just invaluable. So I think the more that we can get that on the table, the better it's going to be for everybody.
I agree. Ms. Swope, do you have anything further for public relations?
I agree with Julie.
Excellent. Mr. Matucci, do you have any public relations?
Good.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Matucci made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Swope is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. And we will be signing off. Thank you.
Be safe,
Everybody.
everyone.
Take care.
Please be safe.
Two.